Hi everybody, this is Dan Talks Sense, and today I'm going to be comparing Dua's Midnight Rendezvous to a 2009 batch of the Yves Saint Laurent's La Nuit de l'Homme. I'm also going to take into consideration Perfume Parlour's Night Gent, which is their interpretation of La Nuit de l'Homme. So in today's review I'm going to do a first impression of all three. I'm going to tell you which one out of the three performs the best. I'm going to tell you how far they project. And I'm also going to make a conclusion at the end on whether this is a realistic interpretation of La Nuit de l'Homme. So if that type of content would interest you, then please stay tuned. Welcome back. So I'm quite excited about this one because I love La Nuit de l'Homme. I think it's one of the best men's fragrances that's ever been made. In terms of date night and in the office, it's beautiful. That cardamom, the lavender, the geranium, it's beautiful when it all comes together. But like many people, disappointed with modern batches of La Nuit de l'Homme because it just doesn't perform as well as it once did. It's never been a beast performer of a fragrance, but modern batches, I'd say 2018, 2019, really weak and not really worth buying, and that's why there's a number of client houses that brought interpretations out and they become really popular. Midnight Rendezvous is one that I've seen a number of times. People have commented on it and said what they think of it. It's got a lot of positive feedback actually on Fragrantica and other places, so I thought I'd give it a try myself. But first of all, I'm going to give you my impressions of the vintage La Nuit de l'Homme. Already, when I put it on, I can already kind of get how rich it is and how prominent the cardamom is. But beautiful, and that's why we love it so much. That initial blast is lovely, really nice. So we'll see how Rendezvous compares to it on initial blast. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but how oily that is on the hand. You know, that is quite, oily, to say the least. Okay, so that's the Dua. And when I put Dua on, it's not as bright, and it doesn't smell as good on the opening spray. It's kind of, you get a big whiff of alcohol. You're not getting it's not as bright and it's not as sweet as the real La Nuit de l'Homme on the initial spray. But one final spray will be Perfume Parlour. So see what this is like on initial spray. Again, oily and hasn't got the sweetness of the real thing when you spray it on. So, but to give you a full impression, full review, we'll have to see how they develop, because with a lot of fragrances, you first spray them on, you do get a bit of a alcohol whiff, even in more expensive fragrances, not just design. I've seen niche fragrances where you get the alcohol blast at the start. But one thing I would say about that La Nuit de l'Homme, the vintage batch, is that on the initial spray, it just smells really good, and it doesn't smell too synthetic. Just quite impressed. But I'll see how they develop on my skin, and what I'm going to do now is show you a close-up of the bottles, and then I'm going to do a bit of a diary throughout the day and how they develop, how they perform, how they project, and whether Midnight Rendezvous and Perfume Parlour start to get closer to the real thing as I go through the day. So if that kind of thing would interest you, then stay. Okay guys, so no expense spared here. We have the Dua's fragrances Midnight Rendezvous on the left. It's an inspired expression, 30ml there. A little bit tacky actually. You've got the sprayer at the top, just basic really. You've got my little sample in the middle, and then you've got the Night Gent on the right hand side, just the stick on the front. But we're not paying for the packaging with these clones, we're paying for the juice inside. So we'll let you know how we get on. So guys, just walking down to the shops now, and I've got to say that the Dua is not quite as good as the close as it should be really. For the price that you're paying, performance projection, yes, solid, but it's just missing that sparkle. The original vintage Lamweek de L'Homme is smelling absolutely amazing off my hand, and I just keep sniffing my hand. Fantastic fragrance, and it does really live up to the hype. Perfume Parlour can hardly smell after a couple of hours. You know, I can't even smell it on the skin now. Basically, you get what you pay for with some fragrances and some clones. But that's my thoughts so far. Really impressed with vintage Lamweek de L'Homme. Do a solid performance projection, but for me, not quite hitting it directly in terms of how close it is. Not quite hitting the mark, I should say. But I'll let you know my final thoughts when I get back into the house. So guys, I've been wearing these all day, and I've managed to gather my thoughts on how all three smell. And it's helped me make a big decision really for myself about whether to hunt down a vintage batch of Lamweek de L'Homme. Recently on the Facebook page that I'm on, Fragcom UK, I've managed to get so many great deals on there in terms of fragrances, because people sell partials of bottles, they sell bottles that have only had a few sprays missing for really good prices. And recently I found a bottle of Lamweek de L'Homme 2009 batch, but it didn't have a lid on the bottle, it didn't have a box, and it was going for 125 quid, and I was like, wow, it's quite a bit of money. It hasn't got the box, it hasn't got the lid. And I thought what I wanted to do is smell a vintage batch of Lamweek de L'Homme first, just to get an idea of whether it is really worth hunting down that vintage batch. And what I've got to say, guys, is after today's experience of using this, it's just got star quality. It's got this beautiful, sweet cardamom, absolutely beautiful at the top, and it does smell of a higher quality than more modern batches. And I just found myself smelling my hand constantly throughout the day. And when I compared it to the Dua's version, Dua's was just missing something. It was just missing some elements to it that made it as good as vintage. What I would say in terms of Dua is that it probably gets about 80% there. You've got the basis of Lamweek de L'Homme. You've got it's recognisable to people. If you smell Lamweek de L'Homme before and you smell this, you probably recognise it. But when you actually spray them both on your hand and you compare them, this is just brighter. It's brighter and it's more enjoyable to smell. I wouldn't say it's kind of like a bitterness to this that you can't get away from. I wouldn't say stale, but it's just not as bright and it's just not as sweet. And when you spray them both, yeah, there's a definite difference. Performance-wise, Dua's, I think, projects and performs better, a notch better than the vintage Lamweek de L'Homme. Going on to night, gent, after about two hours, I couldn't smell this anymore. It wasn't even close to the skin. And I use this in work and I reapply throughout the day. And it's got the DNA of Lamweek de L'Homme, but honestly after smelling Rendezvous and the vintage, it made me realise that actually Night Gent isn't very close to the real thing. And I'm sorry Perfume Parlour, but it's not. It's missing the beautiful sweet cardamom, spicy cardamom at the top. It's got the basis of Lamweek de L'Homme, but it kind of feels watered down and just not great. It's fine on a fragrance on its own, and it does a job in the summer. I wear this a lot in work, but yeah, it made me open my eyes actually to how far away this is to the real thing. Dua's done a good job in terms of performance and projection, but they're just missing that star quality. I think that I would use Dua to as a boost. I'll probably wear it on a night out because it's going to perform. It's going to do really well. It's going to be solid. But in terms of scent, DNA and character, this is so good. And what my conclusion is, guys, is you need to get your hands on, you need to smell a vintage batch of Lamb-Wheat Delhomme to really get across and to really embrace how good it is. And the hype is real, guys. When people are saying that it's a shadow of its former self, it's opened my eyes today, really. I wanted to know whether it was worth paying those extortionate prices to get my hands on a 2009 to 2011 batch. And smelling this tiny sample today has helped me make that decision. And I am going to be searching and hunting down a 2009 to 2011 batch. If you're watching this video today and you want to get rid of one and want to sell one, let me know. Send me an email, because I just want to buy one now and I'll pay good money for one. I think it's absolutely beautiful. They're my thoughts on Dua. I know that Alexandra Fragrances have brought out their version. If you smell any of them and you think they're any good, please let me know in the comments down below. If you own a vintage batch Lamb-Wheat Delhomme, please let me know what you think of it and how you think it compares to more modern batches. What my final thoughts are: vintage batch, sweeter, beautiful cardamom at the top, brighter, just overall just smells like a better quality than more modern batches do. And yeah, really happy to have managed to experience this. Dua, yes, solid in terms of performance and projection, no doubt, best performing out of all three. Night Gent, not very close at all, I'm afraid. And that's my thoughts on all three. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, then please hit the subscribe button. There will be more comparison videos on the way. I really enjoy doing this. I think it helps out Fragcom. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, and I'll speak to you all very soon.